Hi everyone, my name is Alexandra Moffett. Today we're going to be going over part one of behavior basics for students and families during distance learning. So to start off with our NATOMAS Unified Vision, which is all NUSD students graduate as college and career ready, productive, responsible, and engaged global citizens. Moving on to our core beliefs. Every student can learn and succeed. Disparity and disproportionality can and must be eliminated. Our diversity is a strength, and staff must be committed, collaborative, caring, and exemplary. And looking at the objectives for this presentation, Objective 1 is going to be discussing the meaning of behavior. Objective 2, we're going to look at some behavior support strategies. And Objective 3, how to help my team. We will also have some frequently asked questions in this section of the presentation. So jumping right into Objective 1, discuss the meaning of behavior. So first and foremost, we need to know what is behavior. And it's important to remember that all behavior is a form of communication. So it's our job to try and figure out what the child is trying to communicate. Down here we have an image of a little boy and he seems pretty upset. He's got some thought bubbles here about what might be going on. The first one being, I'm hungry, I need more time, no thank you. And then over here, something for parents to consider. Do they need your help or attention? And this, of course, could change how we respond to this sort of escalated behavior. And then we have some examples of behaviors over here to the side. The first one being tantrums, talking back, crying, yelling. They might get quiet or shut down, hitting, not listening, or becoming argumentative. And then over here, we have a very helpful visual. What we sometimes see as a failure to behave properly is actually a failure to communicate properly. And this ties directly into behavior being a form of communication. Our goal should always be to help the children communicate properly and appropriately. And that way, as time goes on and they get better and better at this, these behaviors will gradually decrease. So let's look at what is the behavior telling us. And we have 4 basic functions of behavior, and we break them down sort of in this acronym here, SEAT, spelling seat. The first one is sensory seeking behavior. And this is when a child might seek sensory stimulation, which is something they do that makes them feel calm, relaxed, or excited. The next one we have is escape. And this could be escape from something they don't want to do. And of course, this could vary based on the child. They could be trying to get out of doing some classwork, maybe some chores, brushing their teeth. And the end goal here with this behavior function is just to not have to complete the task. And then we have attention-seeking behavior where they might engage in disruptive behaviors such as crying in order to gain attention from you or someone else. And then the last one we have is access to tangibles. And this is access to something they want or something that is highly preferred. We have candy over here, which of course might be highly preferred for some of us. And then we have other things such as iPad, YouTube, maybe a favorite TV show. They will try and engage again in those disruptive behaviors in order to gain access to that highly preferred item. So what is the intent, or what does the behavior look like? Looking at sensory seeking behaviors, we might see some body rocking, hand flapping, or vocalizations. And it's important to remember that these are self-regulating behaviors. So this is something your child might engage in if they're feeling overwhelmed, overly happy, stressed out. The point of these behaviors is to regulate their own sensory stimulation. And then we have escape as a function. And those examples might look like not listening, arguing, not wanting to do work or chores. And they could do this by verbally refusing or by simply walking away from the task at hand. And for attention as a function, we have examples such as yelling, crying, or talking back. And then, of course, for access to tangibles, they could want video games, candy, or a favorite show. And again, they might engage in some disruptive behaviors such as screaming or crying in order to gain access to these items. And then over here, we just have some visuals. This could be maybe attention-seeking behavior. Since it looks like dad is a little bit busy, Over here, we have a child manipulating some sensory fidgets. Over here, we have a little girl who seems pretty upset. And then, of course, we have someone engaging with a highly preferred item. So let's look at objective 2, which are some behavior support strategies. First and foremost, we want to know how to help our child. We have a list here, just some really simple rules or tips. First one being keep it positive. It's important to keep it positive even when your child is upset. You want to maintain that supportive approach, maintain a calm tone of voice, keep your language really clear and concise, provide praise when it's earned, and just make sure that you're providing a lot of positive attention throughout the day. And next we have schedules. And it's really important to map out a schedule or routine for your child. It doesn't have to be for the whole entire day from wake up to bedtime, as long as it covers those times where routine is highly important, such as academic times or classwork related times. And find a schedule that works best for your family. We will, of course, go over schedules in a little bit more detail in the next upcoming slides. And then we have checklists. And you can tie this in with schedules depending on how you choose to format your schedule, or you can write up a simple checklist that might look something like this visual, where you write out the expected task here, and as the child meets that expectation, they're able to check it off, so they know they've done this for the day. And then, of course, as they go through the day and continue to complete these expectations, they can check off these boxes. And help them to help themselves. It's really important that we want to facilitate independence and self-regulation as much as possible. So when the children are upset, they're able to calm themselves independently as much as they can. So letting them know what options are available to them, maybe taking a break in a quiet area of the house or doing some deep breathing. As long as they know what they can do while they're upset, they're going to be able to gradually learn to regulate their behavior. And then we have a token board or reward system, which we will go over in the next upcoming slides. We'll break that down a little bit. But we do have a really good visual representation of that here. This is a handwritten token board, which is absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be like what your child might be seeing at school where it's laminated with Velcro. Use what you have on hand. Just make sure you're consistent with it. And so the basic components of most token boards are going to look like this. You're going to have the goals that your child is expected to meet. You're going to have the boxes that you'll be putting the stickers or smiley faces or tokens in. And then down at the bottom, you'll have the reinforcement. So down here, it says when they've earned 20 stickers, they get to play Angry Birds for 10 minutes. So when they've filled up this grid here with all of their stickers, they get to trade that in for a reinforcement of choice. One thing that's always important to remember is try to put their reinforcement on the token board. This helps maintain their buy-in as well as their motivation and lets them know what it is they're working for. All right, we're just going to move right along. Another way we can help the child in the home is setting them up for success by using predictability and consistency as much as possible in the home environment. So when setting the home up for success, it's important to know that in order to avoid typical behaviors that we know are going to occur, we need predictability and consistency. And we'll go over some ways where you might be able to instill that in the home. The first one being schedules. This will help instill a sense of predictability and routine. So let's go over why they're important. The routine of a schedule allows your student to know what to expect. So they know what's expected of them certain times of the day. They know what tasks are expected of them later in the day, so they can look at their schedule and know what it is they're expected to do, which of course helps reduce stress and avoid power struggles. It's important to allow students to distinguish between learning time and non-learning time. So if we were writing a schedule here, we might put math, language arts, and then possibly break time right here or reinforcement time. And this way the child knows once they're done with these tasks up here, they get some non-learning time down here, which of course is going to motivate them to want to complete these tasks. And then over here, we have a visual representation of a visual schedule. And this one looks like it was possibly written on maybe a Google Doc, but you can absolutely use just a piece of paper as long as you are consistent. So it breaks it down based on days of the week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then of course based on times of the day. It looks like this one has half an hour to hour increments. So they know that at 8 a.m., they're expected to eat some breakfast. And then there's a visual representation of that over here. And then it goes on throughout the day, 9 a.m., get ready. And we've got a picture of that here as well. And then it just continues to go throughout the day when at a certain time they're expected to complete this task. And then there's a visual representation of that task here. And next, we're going to look at tips for creating an at-home schedule. Number one is to keep it concise and simple. You don't want to overload the schedule or overwhelm your child. And we look at this example here. The tasks are fairly simple. Wake up, morning walk, academic time, creative time, lunch. It's not too wordy. It's very concise. It's very simple. Block out time for specific activities. As you can see here, they're doing that. They start before 9 a.m. and go all the way down to 8 o'clock. Of course, like I said, you don't have to do it from wake up to bedtime, but they chunk out certain academic times here, and they chunk it by what looks like hour increments. So this way the student knows from 9 a.m. to 10, we're going on a walk, and then from 10 to 11, it's going to be some academic time. And you want to allow for timed breaks. We have over here what looks like creative time and quiet time. So quiet time might be what they refer to as break time in the house. They can do reading, puzzles, take a nap. So that's just a simple break away from the work. And when you are doing breaks, you want to make sure to use a timer. They have here quiet time from 1 to 2:30. So they would, of course, set a timer for an hour and a half. And as much as possible, try and make that visual to the student so they know how much time they have on their break. And that way they know that when that time is up, they're expected to transition back to academic time. And use visuals. Like we saw on the previous page, we might put visuals here instead of the written explanation of what it is the task is they're just expected to be doing. So instead of eat breakfast, make your bed, we might put a picture of that sort of is all encompassing of waking up. And allow your student to check off completed tasks. So again, they can put a check or an X as they complete these tasks throughout the day. That way they know they've sort of accomplished this goal for the day, and this is what they might have left. And like I said, your schedule does not need to be an 8-hour school day. Create a schedule that works best for your family. So you could just break it down based on academic time, as long as academic time is sort of reflected in the visual schedule, as that is the time a student might need the most routine. All right, so moving on to token boards. So we're going to just break this down a little bit. What is a token board? A token board is a system that manages chosen reinforcements for positive behaviors. This allows your child access to preferred items or activities, increases motivation, and decreases escalated behaviors. We have over here the basic token economy cycle, starting out at step 1, where child has no access to tokens or desirable items or activities. And step 2, child engages in desirable behaviors or target behaviors. And that goes straight into step 3, where child is given tokens for engaging in those target behaviors. And then step 4, once they've amassed a certain amount of tokens, they're able to trade those in for desirable items or activities, or what some people might refer to as reinforcements. And then down here, we have another example of a token economy. As you can see here, there's a little box where it says, I'm working for, and then you would just put a visual or written representation of what it is your child is working for. If it's iPad, you could certainly draw a picture of an iPad, you could print a picture of an iPad out, or you could simply write iPad. And then, of course, we have the boxes down here where the student will put their tokens once they are earned. And then once they've hit that last token and they've earned all of the boxes, they're able to trade that in for their reinforcement of choice. So how do token economies work? After your student completes a task, they earn a reward. A token, which could be a star, smiley face, pennies, really anything you have around the house you can use as a makeshift token, is awarded every time your child demonstrates appropriate behavior. When the chart is full, they have earned their reinforcement. So how can we be consistent with this? It's important to remember to try and be as consistent as possible, especially when starting out, in order to increase motivation and buy-in with your student. So you want to always set the expectation before a task begins. And this could sound like first math, then token. First we do math and then you get iPad. Once you have 5 tokens, you get iPad, or whatever their preferred item is. They have that sort of written out over here after I blank. And of course you would put the expected task here. I can have, and then there's sort of a slew of options here of preferred items that they get to choose from. Make sure you reinforce positive behaviors the same way. So if you see your child engaging in a target or goal behavior and you award them a token and you see it again throughout the day and you maybe don't award them a token, that's going to do the opposite of what we want and maybe decrease motivation and buy-in. So we want to be as consistent as possible. Whenever we see that positive behavior, reward it the same way. So if we rewarded it with a token once, then we should reward it with a token again. And use a timer and keep reinforcements consistent. As you can see here, there's set amount of times for certain reinforcements. For the iPhone, it looks like 5 minutes, 10 minutes for the TV, 1 song. And so that way they know once they've earned this certain reinforcement, this is the amount of time they get with it. And so when they have the reinforcement, use a timer, start it up with the predetermined amount of time. And like with breaks, try and keep it visual to the student. And then of course, give them some time warnings or let them know when reinforcement time is almost up. And this could sound like 1 minute, then math, 1 more minute, then all done. And of course, if you're worried that your child might have some issues transitioning off of their reinforcement, you can of course give more time warnings as time goes by. And then here we just have some examples of some handwritten token boards. This one we saw in the previous page, but feel free to customize these to your child's liking. If they're a fan of Disney or Marvel, certain superheroes or comic book characters, try and make those apparent on the token boards if you can. Even if you're drawing them, as long as they're able to see that preferred character, that in and of itself can be rewarding and motivating. And like I've said, even drawing it on a piece of paper will do as long as you're consistent. So try and make it the same every day. Even if you just have one master copy and then make copies throughout the day. So here we have the one we looked at on the previous page. After I blank, I can have, and then there's sort of all of these options of preferred reinforcements along with the set amount of time for some of them. And then over here, we have sort of a different example with Jane's jobs, and we have a list of that here. And then over here, we have corresponding pictures. And of course, as Jane completes these tasks, she gets to check off that box. And then when she's checked off the boxes, she gets her reward at the end of meeting those expectations. And moving on to consistency in the home. Some consistent strategies: collaborate with your student to set rules. It's important to have at least 5 rules or guidelines that your child knows to follow in the home. And then have consistent consequences. If they don't meet these expectations or follow these rules, make sure the consequences are fair and consistent and as similar as possible. Try to stick to a schedule. So, like we just learned how to maybe make up a visual schedule, try and stick to that as much as possible. Some days, of course, will not be perfect, and that is okay. But as long as we're trying to be as consistent with it throughout the day, that's what's going to make the difference. And using consistent language. And this might sound like referring to the rules consistently each time. Maybe saying, remember rule one when you see your child is about to engage in some behavior that goes against your set rules. You can also use this for work time by referring to maybe math as math time consistently, language arts as writing time consistently. You can use this for prompting as well by using consistent, maybe first then prompts, just making sure that our language is as consistent and concise as possible. And then, of course, using a reward system or a token economy, like we just learned about. And when we are consistent, our children know what to expect and appropriate behaviors increase. So over here, again, we have another visual schedule. And of course, we have our visual pictures here, and then the written explanation of the expected task here, as well as the times that these tasks are expected to be completed. And then over here, we have some tabs that we're able to sort of push back, and you can check off these activities as you go. Consistent language. It is important for parents to use consistent language to communicate with their children. Why is this important? It allows a clearer understanding of expectations, which leads to an increase in positive behaviors. So, what does it sound like? It could be consistently giving praise when you see positive behaviors, clear and concise verbiage, and same words used for directions and consequences. And moving on to objective 3, how is my teen feeling? So we all know that due to recent events involving the shutdown surrounding COVID-19, there are some common feelings that your teen might be experiencing. And these could be new feelings that maybe they haven't experienced before, or maybe they haven't experienced them in quite the capacity they are now. But just some examples of some feelings they might be experiencing. We've got feelings of isolation or loneliness, anxiety, anger or frustration, boredom or lack of interest. And this could be lack of interest in activities that previously they showed a lot of interest in. They might feel powerless or helpless. They might feel curious as to current events and what's going on in the world. They may certainly feel overwhelmed. And of course, they might feel confused. So what can these behaviors look like? This is again going to vary based on your child, but it's important to remember that they may not be comfortable verbally expressing how they feel. Instead, they might do something like stay in their room or their bed a majority of the day, verbally and or physically lash out, refuse to participate in distance learning, become emotionally withdrawn, or show no interest in previously liked activities. So it's important to remember, again, behavior is a form of communication. So if you're seeing these and you're wondering why you haven't seen them before, maybe they're new behaviors, it could be because your child is attempting to non-verbally communicate how they're feeling by engaging in these sort of behaviors. So how can you help your teen? Ask specific questions. And this would sound something like, are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling worried? Are you feeling sad? They might be more inclined to give a simple yes or no answer, as opposed to asking something more open-ended, like, how are you feeling? That might be hard for them to verbalize. And so by asking a simple yes or no answer, you're more likely to get a response. Engage in active listening. And this just looks like a non-judgmental listening approach. So you want to allow your child to talk without interruption. And then when they're done talking, try and restate what they said back to you and focus on facts and feelings. You want to encourage healthy habits. This, of course, could be going out for a daily walk, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, talking to friends, checking in with family, reaching out, and then have a daily check-in. And this could be asking what they're comfortable sharing. This is a good way to just open up that door of communication. They may not be comfortable sharing all of their emotions right now, but as long as you start the conversation and get it consistent, gradually they'll become more comfortable. You could say something simple like rate your mood from a 1 to 10. You could also ask about the highs and lows of their day, but it's important overall to validate their feelings. No matter what they're feeling and no matter what reason, it's important to validate it and make sure they know that their feelings are heard and they're valid. And then for some more helpful information, we do have a link down here, and you can just click on that and it will take you to a website that gives you a little bit more detailed approach about how to help teens and young adults during these uncertain times. And then we have some frequently asked questions, and you'll see here at the end of each question there is a link. So you can click on this link and you'll be able to get a more maybe detailed approach about what to do when your child is feeling this way. So the first question, what if my child is refusing to do any work that teachers are giving? And one possible approach could be set a detail for earning preferred items. For example, you can say first work and then iPad. You can also work together with your child and make a checklist of things they need to get done before they can have free time. And that kind of ties back in with our schedule and our checklist. And then, of course, for more support, click here. What if my child keeps telling me I'm bored? Sit down with your child and go over a schedule that includes a variety of different activities, such as exercise or keeping children physically active. This is important, especially right now. Playtime, TV, chores, etc. You can also add time slots of their choice so they are willing to follow the schedule. And then, of course, for more support, follow this link. What if my child only wants to be on their phone or tablet, i.e. electronics? This is another time you can use a daily schedule with set times of the day for electronic time, as well as setting a deal for earning electronic time. Also, make sure to set limitations, and this would look like giving a certain amount of time, using a timer, set parental settings on the iPad if possible. And for more support, click this link. What if my child is hitting others, like my siblings or my parents? This is an opportunity to teach coping skills. For example, look out for their body language and ask questions to help them learn to tell you what is wrong. And this could sound like, how can I help you? Let's work this together and work on a solution together. For more support, follow this link. And some more frequently asked questions. Why is my child angry, having mood swings, or argumentative? Your child may be feeling anxious, worried, depressed, bored, tired, or hungry. This is an opportunity to teach coping skills. For example, offer one-on-one time to engage with your child in a conversation and ask questions, such as how are you feeling, how can I help you, what do you need, and work on a solution together. And then, of course, for more support, click this link. Why is my child sleeping so much or isolating themselves in their room? Your child may be feeling depressed, lonely, bored, or tired. Try creating opportunities to unplug, make time to talk, go on walks together, exercise together in the house. You could do some yoga or some Go Noodle. And then for more support, click the following link. What if my child is refusing to join Zoom virtual school meetings? Set a fun background or let your child choose a picture to display as their profile instead. If the child is still apprehensive, contact his or her teacher and find out the topic ahead of time. This may ease their apprehension. For more support, click here. What if I still have questions? Please fill out the Google form attached here, and someone from the behavior team will reach out to you. And some resources and activities for parents. We have links below, the first one being Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic with Children, Social Stories and Comic Strips. These might be especially helpful if you've got younger children in the house who are maybe confused as to what is going on. COVID-19 toolkit for stressed teens, organizing your remote learning schedule, sample schedules for virtual school. So these are some very helpful links and resources for parents. And some online activities for children and families. And you can click on each image for direct access to the site. And these are just some different online activities that you can do with your child or they can do independently. And then some token board phone applications. We have this one here for Apple users and this one for Android users. So just click on this picture or this picture, depending on the phone you use, and it will take you to the App Store where you can download a token board app for your phone. Parents getting help. It's important to call or email your case manager directly if you do find you are in need of assistance. You can use the referral button on the Natomas Unified website. You can also use Care Solace. There is information regarding that also on the Natomas Unified website. Tell a friend, teacher, principal, really any trusted person that you need help. Text the crisis line. Use the Psychological Support Services website to speak with your child's social emotional supporter provider. And of course, click that link here in order to gain access to that. Call your school's virtual office. And then we have that link here. Call the department virtual office to connect to the district office. And we have that link here. And then we have a form here. Click on this link and it is a Parents Getting Help form. And of course, we wish you and your family health during these times. If anyone in your home needs social emotional support, please don't be afraid to reach out. Here are some links you can utilize. We've got mental health resources, social emotional referral link, the Care Solace 24-hour referral link for NUSD families specifically, or you can call 1-888-515-0595 and you will get 24/7 live support. And it's important to remember if you're feeling depressed, anxious, or just need someone to talk to, do not wait until you're in crisis. Reach out. We are here and we are here to help. And if you ever find yourself in an emergency, please call 911. So that brings us to the end of part 1 of our behavior basics presentation. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen, and I hope you found this information helpful. Please stay tuned for part 2.